topic. We have an amazing conversation today on PRandMore. This event is called PRandMore. It's an event created by Nigerian women in PR. And already this event is curated to really speak to women in PR and of course talk about different subjects beyond even PR. That's why it's called PRandMore, where we talk about subjects from PR to, I don't know, motherhood to whatever. So I'm so excited because our guest today is going to be amazing. Also, today's subject is one that I think we all at some point have struggled with. Some people are struggling with at the moment. And so for you, you're in between jobs, or you've been at a certain level in your career for a long time. You're struggling to sort of move up, get promotion, or move to the next level. This conversation is for you. That's why I love you to make sure you use the arrow here, just the bottom right arrow. Invite your friends. It's important to invite your friends to this conversation. If you have a friend that's in between jobs, a friend that's been at a certain level in their career for a long time, a friend that's a woman who's sort of feels like there's a glass ceiling, which we all sort of know about, then please invite somebody to this live now. Give you a moment. I see that our guest speaker is already on the live. Folake, Coach Folake is here and she's already on the live, and I'm really excited to have her. I've been following her on Clubhouse for some time now. And trust me, she's a huge powerhouse. She's an international HR leader. She's an executive coach. And even though she feels like she's called to more of the mid-level and senior level professionals, but I think there's so much you can learn. Even if you're an entry level, there's so much you can learn. Yes, some people are excited. I'm really excited that you're excited. So please invite people. I want you to invite people. I want the numbers to start to go up because I don't want us to have this conversation in vain. This conversation is not just for 4 people, for 10 people. A lot more people should be hearing this, because people just assume they know these things, but then they go to interviews and then they just mess up. There are strategies to this thing. And if you don't know it, you're going to keep, feeling like a failure. But then you find that there's certain people who interview and is like, oh, wow, phenomenal. And they get jobs so easily. I saw somebody recently who talked about how she has a good job, but her new hobby is actually interviewing for jobs, getting those jobs and then turning them down. And that's because she's been able to master the strategy for landing roles, strategy for interviewing that interviewers want to hear. If you don't know this strategy, you're always going to feel like a failure. You're going to feel like you're messing up. All right, so Folake Adeniyi-Adeleye is our guest. She is an international HR leader, certified executive coach, and founder of Coachivate. You can follow her on Clubhouse at Coachivate. You can follow her at Coachivate here as well on Instagram. She has powerful nuggets that can help you to build more confidence as a professional, to land your next big role, which is what we're really talking about today. So I'm going to add her right now. But I think maybe I should read her. Yes, fantastic. Please invite people to join this. We're talking about strategies to land your next big role. All right, interview strategies that lands you your next big role. There's strategies to this thing. Stop feeling like a failure. Stop feeling like you're not good enough. Once you learn the strategies, which is what Folake is going to talk to us about today, you will find that it gets easier to land your next big role. All right, let me read a bit about her before I actually invite her in. Folake Adeniyi-Adeleye, her 23-year career spans industries such as management, consulting and advisory, oil and gas, telco and information technology. Folake is a seasoned corporate executive with extensive experience in the fields of international human resource management, talent management, strategic business partnering and organizational development in leading global multinationals like Celtel, Zain, now Airtel, Microsoft and Oracle, overseeing regional and global portfolios. In her current role as regional HR director overseeing the sub-Saharan African market at a global IT MNC, she collaborates with business executives and stakeholders in both emerging and developed markets to implement global people and talent management strategies. Obviously, you know that I cannot finish reading her profile because she's super amazing. And her passion really is to see more people succeed, more people careers. So please keep inviting people. I'd love for you to definitely invite people who can benefit from this. Good evening, Coach.
Hey.
Finally,
Hey.
I'm sitting in front of you.
How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. And how are you?
I'm fine. Just trying to adjust a few things here. You know, before you go live, you never really
Yes,
know where the
absolutely.
alignment is and
Yes,
stuff
make
like
sure
that.
everything's
So
settled. Yes.
exactly, that's just what I'm trying to sort out. But I'm good. How are you? Do you
I'm
prefer your full
fantastic.
name?
Good to meet you. I was on your live
Same
yesterday on,
here.
on Clubhouse.
Yes. What do you prefer me to call you? Your full name, Aderonke, or just
No,
Ronke?
Ronke. Ronke is fine.
Ronke is fine, okay,
Ronke
because
is fine.
I'm a full name person, but
Yeah.
my daughters know that when I call them by their full name, then it means that they're also in
You're in
trouble,
trouble.
you know. So,
They're in trouble. Okay, can everybody hear us?
yeah,
Can you hear
so
Folake? Can you hear me? Let's just get a thumbs up in the comment section to be sure that you can all hear us. I don't know why there's a delay in my... can you hear me perfectly? Can everybody hear
I can
us?
hear you, Ronke.
Okay, great. And I can hear you too. So I guess we're good to go. It is
Okay.
fantastic to have you here. Thank you so
Okay.
much for the work you do. I can see that
Thank
you're so passionate
you.
about professionals and helping professionals sort of level up, build confidence. I was on your live yesterday and
Yes.
wow, it was amazing. Well done. And thank you
Thank
for the
you.
work you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So you've been doing this for 23 years.
Well, I've been doing HR. I've been doing HR for 23 years, and yeah, it has actually been. It's been a journey.
What were you doing before that? What were you doing before that? And how did you get into HR?
I must admit that before HR, you know that I've always sort of done HR, right? But I did consulting. I did
Oh,
consulting before HR. And it meant that when you talk about consulting, it was more strategy consulting, you know, people management consulting. That was how I actually found myself going. So I did HR consulting before mainstream HR. So yeah, I worked with Philips Consulting for a few years before I moved on to mainstream HR.
to HR. All right, that's fantastic.
Yes.
And I mean, for you, how did it? In HR, I know that oftentimes you guys are the people that people are afraid of. That okay, my job sort of depends, my life depends on this person. So I can't wait to hear. I mean, it's fantastic that you're here because, I mean, how does that make you feel to be the one that's most feared, oftentimes in the organization?
Well, I have learned that HR is actually not to be feared. HR is to be partnered with. So the first thing is, what does the organization allow HR to do? If HR is an enabler of careers and helping to build the right environment so that people can thrive, HR is to be partnered with and not to be feared. So I've really tried as much as possible not to, build a HR brand or a professional brand that is to be feared. And I think, I must admit that over the years, I have learned to partner very, very closely with, from entry level even to executive level. HR is an enabler. We might not be able to solve all of the problems, but the little that
Yes.
we can do, I believe that we can certainly get stuff done.
Right, fantastic. Well done with all that you do. I mean, you started Coachivate, and I think that I can see your passion in that you started Coachivate, sort of coach people, especially mid and senior level. Why mid and senior level? What's your bias to mid and senior level professionals?
It's always a question that I get, right? And the main thing is, as I grew in my executive level career, not just, I mean, at one point I lost my job. It was in a company that was downsizing, and yes, I've lost my job before. Coachivate has lost her job. And
Wow,
it
we
was
have
in
to
a
hear that
company that
story, but
was
yeah,
down.
go on.
Oh yeah, for another day, But it was in a company that was downsizing, and I must admit to you, at that time there were a lot of reflections. Not to mention that I had taken a battering left, right, and center. But I found out that not many executives, not many senior level career people really make that transition. Not many really go on to the other side, especially in times of change. And I thought to myself, okay, yes, we can mentor, yes, we can help, but how do we give people back the power to really make that change? How do we bring them to that realization? And I think that was partly what, took me into coaching, actually, where I then said, no, this is what I want to do. This is my niche area, helping senior level career individual professionals transition, into the careers that they really want,
Yeah. And what was the gap for you when you lost your job and getting back into sort of like the labor market as you saw it? I mean, what was it that you learned? Because I'm sure there are people here who are in between jobs. I think a lot of people who hear the topic that we're speaking on today, for them must be more people who are in between jobs who are thinking, okay, you know what? Because interviewing, I think I've learned now, is a skill. But people think I can just black my way. I can just get a job.
There's no way. Not anymore.
So what was the gap for you? And how were you able to climb back? And climb back so well that now you're sort of like C-suite and doing so phenomenal.
It's really funny, but being able to tell that story, like I always say, it's not really just a one-off, but the first thing was to accept where I was. The fact that I actually had to go in, again, Ronke, and really looking at it from the point of view of, let me be real with myself, because we come into that transition and we're not real. We're still in la-la land, or we are so broken that we cannot move forward. So the first thing was really to accept where I was, accept what I had also done to put myself in the position that I'm in. And to say, you know what, no, this cannot happen again. And how do I prevent that? Now, it's not every time that we are in complete control of what's happening in the organization, right? However, when it comes to standing out, when it comes to being relevant, it had to be a combination of a change in mindset and then a change in skill set, really upskilling myself as well in certain areas, and then let that just propel you forward. Let change not kill you. Let change not, dampen your spirit. Let it not, get you down or suppress you. Let change propel you forward. I think that's one of the important things that I really came out from. So it was a real shift in mindset that I needed. And honestly, that's really something that helped at that time,
Right. And I'm sure that, in the course of our discussion, we'd like to talk about some of those tips you would give for, some of the things that ought to shift if somebody wanted to level up in their career, for example. What do you think makes certain people stay on a certain level, even entry level, for such a long time? Why is it so hard? It's easy to get a job, but then for some people, they now stay there 10 years, 15 years, and it's hard to sort of climb up. What do you think would be the reason for this?
It varies. It varies from organization to organization. It depends on the culture of the organization, first of all. It might not always be about the individual. Some organizations are not so good in moving people forward, and there are other organizations that are also not the best in managing upwards,
Right.
So, helping people manage upwards. So how are you getting a coach? How are you getting a sponsor? How are you getting a senior colleague who is really sort of pulling you up? It's really also being able to manage those relationships, as well. For some people, Ronke, truth be told, they don't raise their hands enough. Sometimes we want to go for the nice, sexy roles and all that. But when the nice, unsexy roles come up, raise your hand. Because when the nicer ones, when the not so nice comes up, raise your hand. So that at the end of the day, what we will then see is, we will actually have you we will have you in our minds when the right role actually does, come up. So yeah.
I like that. So it's a bridge. Sometimes the very not nice, so true. Because I know somebody as well who was, trying to get a nice juicy role, and every time that person was offered a not so juicy role, they, just waiting for that right. So sometimes the not so nice roles could just be a bridge that could lead you to the role of your dream. That's amazing. That's interesting. Yeah. So I don't know if for you, if there's anybody in the audience who that hit as well, please let me know, because that really hit me. So that's one thing I'm going away with here, that yes, we all like the nice, juicy roles, but sometimes raise your hands more for the not so nice juicy roles, because it might be the bridge. So I mean, for you're a coach, for like what is the role of a coach, especially for a professional who's struggling? What exactly is the role that you play? What do you do? I always wonder with coaches, because oftentimes I think that coach is the person that says you can do it. You can do it. Is that what you do? Of course not. But please tell us how
but believe it or not, Ronke, that's one of my roles. A coach is a few things, A coach is an accountability partner, somebody who has nothing to lose by holding you accountable. A coach is a cheerleader, definitely. A coach is a strategic partner, a strategic, thinker, a partner that actually thinks, with you. But by all means, a coach is somebody that has an end in mind and actually just guides you towards that end. So there must be something that we are coaching, right? And we always say, yes, we want to coach outcomes, but we're first of all coaching the individual. So what I do as a coach is, as a mentor, I can tell you what I've been through. I can cut and paste. I can say, okay, this is how you can go about it. As a coach, professional coach, I'm putting back the power in your hands to help you realize how you can get it done, how you can work your magic, how you can get to that destination, and that's why as a coach, I don't have to be, if I were coaching a petroleum engineer, I don't have to be a petroleum engineer to coach you as a professional coach. I don't have to be a fashion designer to coach a stylist. A lot of my clients are not even completely keen. I have no idea about their fields, but coaches have tips and tricks and tools and techniques and methods,
what you say, Folake, people will say, but isn't that what my motivational speaker and pastor would do?
Thank you so much. But your motivational speaker and your pastor, they are somewhat emotionally vested in you, right? So they can push you, but what about getting you to that goal? What about getting you to where you actually ought to go beyond? What about telling you the truth that you don't necessarily want to hear, that you may not even be ready to hear? That is what coaches do. Coaches make sure that they hold you by the hand so that you can get there. Your pastor can talk you into getting started. The coach tells you how you actually need to get it done. The coach lights the fire in you, but also gives you the tools to actually get it done. So yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. That's phenomenal. So for anyone else out there who's thinking, okay, my pastor or motivational teacher could do that, that's a key thing, that your coach is not emotionally invested in you. So obviously, it's not just about babying you or praying for you and stuff like that. Okay, so let's now talk about, this strategy we're talking about today, because I feel like some people would feel like maybe it's HR. They'll say HR professionals have made interviewing such a complicated thing. Should it not be, okay, I'm coming to interview and I don't know, I'm articulate, why must there be a strategy is my question.
There must be a strategy because my husband just put up a note there. Adeleye, coaches provide a professional framework. Thank you, Mr. Adeleye. That is exactly what they do. You need a strategy because if you fail to plan, okay, you plan to fail. It is as simple as that. You need a strategy because interviewing is not what it used to be. It is certainly more global. It's become more sophisticated. And you need a strategy because interviewing is a skill. Interviewing is a skill. It is a skill that needs to be learned. It's a skill that needs to be practiced again and again. It's a skill that you need to become more astute, and so on and so forth. So that is exactly what it is. It is a skill that needs to be. So you need a plan to. It's like having a strategy, which is where they used to use it during the war. That's where the name even first came of. So if you're going to conquer, if you're going to beat your opponent, if you're going to stand out, you need a strategy. And that's why I said a lot of this delivery is not for everybody. If you want to remain mediocre, by all means, please don't disturb everybody else that wants and needs a strategy because they want to get ahead. So strategy is for getting ahead. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is where I'm going to let you do your thing, because even I'm going to be taking notes about these strategies, because I'm sure no matter how much you love your job, even if it's for the fact that you just want to see if especially if you've been working at the same place for a long time, you want to see how marketable you are. So you want to see if, for example, you can go somewhere, still interview and still remain relevant. So I think that this is something that's relevant to everybody, even though we're focusing on mid-level to senior level management. But are the strategies different for entry level and middle and senior level, would you say?
The strategies are different, Ronke, because the expectations are different. So I would not expect from a Ronke at mid to senior level what I'm going to expect from somebody who is just starting work, or getting into the work environment. The expectations are different, so the strategies must be different. And I can tell you that whoever is interviewing you is also expecting something a bit more different at that level, as opposed to, somebody who is actually just started school. So I have my notes in front of me. Yes. I see that because you are higher here and my notes are actually right here, on my laptop, but I'm going to keep shifting. And then it's been such a very long day, but yes. I'm going to do my best to make sure that we deliver this. How long do I have so that you can keep me honest for time? How will I know when? Because I know this goes off in exactly 59 minutes. Yeah,
exactly. So I would like if we can talk about these strategies for the next 10 minutes, 15. I will be taking notes.
Okay. No problem. All right. You know what? I always say that the interview does not start at the interview. What you really need to be able to do is what happens in the background, what happens before the interview, right? And I think that's one of the most important, and that's only because preparation in itself is actually quite key, So what happens before the interview? How do you even get your foot in the door? Remember, and I always say this, the most powerful professional in the room is the one who is both self-aware and intentional. So a lot of what I'm saying does not just call for doing, it calls for a lot of intentionality. So what happens before the interview? How do you even get your foot, in the door to stand out when you get in the door? You have to have an executive resume that really has quite a number of features, and that executive resume must reflect a few things that are extremely important. Again, the expectations at mid to senior level extremely different from those at entry level. So your executive profile and areas of expertise must be extremely clear on that. Give us a few bits of your career highlights. Your qualifications are as important as your professional qualifications. So your degrees are as important as your professional qualifications. In fact, if you're somebody that's volunteering somewhere or somebody who is actually very passionate about some project that they're doing right now, put it on there. We want to see that you are human and you are about life, you are about work, you are about play. It should be there so that it shows you up as a very holistic individual. Your chronological professional experience is really important. For me to senior levels, it's important to start from the current and then work your way back to the past, right? And then when it, of course, comes to your hobbies, special interests, write stuff that's really relevant also to the role that you're being interviewed for. or the role that you are applying for. That is so very important. So it's not unusual to have 2 or 3 versions of a resume, tailor-made for a particular role, tailor-made for a particular industry, and so on and so forth. I have a coach bio, which is completely different from my executive resume.
Wow.
Totally different. Because as a coach, you want to really be able to speak more of your work, the kind of people that you've coached, your coaching certifications, and so on and so forth. You won't see all of that in my professional bio. Maybe just a mention of it here and there. So you've got to be able to balance that. Then your key strengths, your soft skills, and then of course, at this level, you should have not just the version that is matched to the kind of role that you're applying for, but you should have, if somebody says, okay, I need 1-pager, I need a 1-pager of your bio, you should be able to give that. If they say, okay, please give me a summary resume, usually most of our resumes as a summary at executive level, mid to senior level, 2 pages, but you can find yourself in a situation where you have 2 pages, right? But your real professional resume is about 8-9 pages. Have all of those versions handy. Don't be caught unawares. It's really foolhardy when you have a recruiter contacting you and then they say, okay, I've seen your 2-pager. Can I please have your full resume? And you're struggling.
Wow.
You should have all ready. So that is what happens before the interview. A major strategy is also this. Before the interview, there's a strategy with the recruiter. The recruiter strategy. So that's strategy number 2. The first one is, what do you do before the interview?
Yes.
It's as important as gaining the interview. Strategy number 2, the recruiter strategy. As much as possible, get to know your recruiter. As much as possible, use your recruiter in a very positive and very intentional light.
By recruiter, you mean the organization?
The recruiter who contacts you for the role. It could also be the recruiter within the organization, So the recruiting process, usually at mid to senior level, you'll find somebody calling you up. You'll find somebody contacting you on LinkedIn and say, I saw your profile doing this. You find somebody, oh, Roke gave me your name. She gave me your number. Is this fine? Is this good? And so on and so forth. So when a recruiter contacts you, the first thing, never see the recruiter is the foot in the door. Never see your recruiter as just by the wayside. Never see your recruiter as a messenger. You're making a big mistake. You've got to start shifting your mindset regarding your recruiter. So be extremely cautious with your recruiter. Be proactive. It's your recruiter that you should be following up with. They are going to tell the organization or the team or the hiring manager, about you. Ask your recruiter some questions that ordinarily only the recruiter can tell you that. So ask questions that you can use to your advantage. How have you tried filling this position internally? How long has it been, open? What would you say are the must-haves? What is the hiring manager like in your own, in your own words? How do I give my best? How do I give my best at the interview? What are they really looking for? And if you are courteous, you are kind, you are humane with your recruiter, trust me, even if you don't get this role, you've kept the door open. And by all means, give positive feedback to your recruiter. Let your recruiter know how much you have appreciated them contacting you. Send them a short note. Even when they come back sometimes to give you bad news, tell them it's been an absolute pleasure, working with you. Trust me, I have had a recruiter like that in times past, in my career, who we had that sort of relationship. And not only did she contact me for a role, she also contacted me when she was looking for someone. When she was looking for someone, she also contacted me and she was saying, hey, This is somebody that I need. This is something that that you can help me with. Folake, you came across as this and that. Can you help me with this? And I'm not saying that you can be friends with all of your recruiters,
Yes.
but I can tell you that it's really, really important to, it's really, really important to manage your recruiter. Don't ever, ever, ever
Is there a possibility? And I mean, we're also talking about sort of being
yes.
cautious. Is there a possibility of overdoing it? Are there people who now, for example, you've talked about not being friends? Should you keep at the back of your mind that I'm not looking to make friends with this person. It's just to make a good impression.
That's it at the end of the day. But we're saying go even a step further. You're not necessarily befriending the person, but
Yes.
again, what are you trying to be at the interview? No, what are you trying? I mean, let me rephrase that. What are you trying to be at the interview process?
Right.
You're trying to be attractive. You're trying to prove that you're a good fit. You are trying to be unforgettable. In my executive prep with clients, I say, if you're not even going to get the role, be unforgettable. They won't forget you in a hurry. For somebody who I took through an executive prep session, she ended up being the first in class, as it were, but the organization chose to go with somebody internally. That is something that is beyond my control. It's beyond her control as well. But there were certain strategies that were quite clear. And believe it or not, it was the recruiter in HR. Many of them are in HR. Many of them work as recruiters, executive recruiters on their own. It was the recruiter in HR that was telling her, this is the next step. This is what you ought to do. This is what ought not to do. This is who you are meeting. Just, you find that the recruiter goes somewhat over and beyond the call of duty. Extremely important, So strategy number 3. Oh, did you want to ask me a question, Roke?
Yes, I was saying we're still in the, we've done pre-interview, whilst the interview process is still going on. Those are the things that, yes, okay.
Exactly. Now let's go into, so not just the recruiter. When you're done with the recruiter, let's now work through from the things that the recruiter has told you, first impressions strategy. What do you do to make first impressions? Right? Do your homework. You cannot come to interview at a senior level and you know nothing about the role, nothing about the organization, nothing about the industry, nothing about the field. It is a given that you must know. And not only must you know, in the course of the interview, we're going to get there, you must also have questions to ask. So please do your homework. A lot of times we don't know the company at the very first instance, right? And sometimes your recruiter will not tell you. I cannot reveal the name of this organization, but they are in this, they are in this, they are in this. Right. Ask as many questions as possible without asking about the name. Okay, you can't tell me the name. Can you tell me the industry? You can't tell me the industry. Okay, can you tell me how long they've been in business? You can't tell me, but you can tell me they're in manufacturing. Okay, so usually they don't tell you in the first chat. They'll tell you in the second chat, but ask as many questions as possible. There have been recruiters I remember, way back then, when recruiters contacted me, they would say, it's this kind of company, it's this kind of company. And by the
Okay. Yes, we're back. Yes, fantastic. You can hear you now.
Okay.
There's this kind of company, that kind of company. So, just give you hints around.
Exactly. By the time I just sort of put heads together with one or two people, including my husband. You just say, is this company? That kind of thing. Is this company? Kind of thing. So yes, as much as possible. You may not always know, and that's fine. But by the time, and there's some interviews that you will go to, and they still haven't revealed the name. again, it's an opportunity to ask questions. But whatever it is, if you do know, do your homework.
Right.
You
I
know,
wanted to ask,
do your homework.
whilst you're on this getting to know your recruiter and organization, there are people, I remember a friend of mine told me how there are people who are very articulate and who are great with words. Is there any way that would ever sort of help you? For example, I can't remember, he was being interviewed and they asked him something about the organization and he didn't know. And so he has sort of used big words to just get his way around. Are there times that could, work? Or that's a no?
You forget that a lot of people that are interviewing you are experienced people. You can't bamboozle experienced people. They will see through you.
Right.
So it is, as much as possible, take your authenticity with you, because that's what people want to see. That's what wins the prize at the end of the day. Of course, you must know what you're talking about, but nobody wants to hire a fake person. And honestly, more often than not, I can tell you 90% of the time, people can spot a fake. Except you are, I have one or two names in mind I'm not even going to mention. We know them on TV and stuff like that, and they bamboozle people because they were so charismatic. But the thing about it is that if you bamboozle your way through the interview, eventually you will be found out. Even if it's 6 months later, you will not be confirmed, or you'll be disgraced out of the organization. So I'm just saying, as much as possible,
do the work.
Take your knowledge with you. Do the work. There's nothing wrong with being articulate, but you better damn well know what it is that you're talking about. Which brings me then to the issue of first impressions and confidence. What gives you confidence is that you are well prepared. You cannot beat preparation, Ronke. You can't beat preparation. Prepare as much as you can, and when you're going in there as well, you've got to be ready to be engaging. You cannot be robotic. You are not smiling. There's no smile on your face. You are so serious. Even if nobody on the panel is smiling, please smile. You break and bring some humor into it as well. You are coming to work. You spend half of your day there. Who is going to make it so stoic and so robotic for you? Say something nice. Say something nice about them, sincerely, and let that sincerity come out. They're going to ask you anyway. At some point, they're going to ask you, questions like, why do you want to join this organization? That's your opportunity to smile. It's like, wow. When I think about your organization, you are the first and the foremost when it comes to 1, 2, 3. Again, your homework. You've done 1, 2, 3 so well. I have looked at your competition, I've researched your competition, and in terms of what I am looking for in the next phase of my career, I believe that this is where I can fulfill that mandate and still be able to add value. So get some, of course, you've gotten your information, you've gotten your context from the very beginning. It's really, really important to pull through, at the interview. And then be very conscious, first impressions, be very conscious about the unspoken messages that you are sending. I don't expect you to come in at mid to senior level and, you don't ask before you are seated, you come in, you're like that, holding your hand like, somebody has forced you to be there. You come in, you're not looking prim and proper. You come in, your tie is not, carefully knotted. You are not, looking like you even made an effort. There's some things, there's some gestures, there's some looks that are unforgivable at mid to senior level. Right. You've got to be conscious of your appearance, but be conscious about those unspoken gestures. You can't go into an interview and you're chewing or something like that. And I always say, if you are the kind that you get nervous at interviews, take something that actually helps you calm your nerves. For some people, it might be take your cup of water, with you. And as soon as you get and say, my mouth gets quite dry. I hope you don't mind me having a cup of water. If you don't have a table, put it on the floor beside you. For some, It might be that it's the color red that puts them in a really bright mood. Wear your red there, and then wear a black camisole under your red jacket. You know, for some, it's, you know, give yourself time before the interview. Play your pick-me-up music. Before I come live, I come on live in certain talks and whatever. I have my pick-me-up songs, my pick-me-up music. You know, I have one or two friends that I can call up and be like, this is what's happening. Or it's what I'm going for today. Oh yeah, pray with me. Or yeah, say a word of prayer. Do something that really gets you into that mode, M-O-D-E.
Yes.
You know, we all have nerves, but you've got to
Yes.
have ways to calm nerves, and that's what preparation does. Yes, Ronke.
Wow. I mean, if you're in the audience and you think that this is, I mean, so amazing, please let us know in the comment section. I see some people saying well said, some people saying words of wisdom, and absolutely apt words of wisdom. But I wanted to ask, because I know a few friends who are in mid-management who have interviewed. Do you think that HR or people who are recruiting, because I also asked on the other hand about people who are good and they can bamboozle, you know, with their words. There are people who I know that are very brilliant, who know the word, but they're not very articulate and they're not great with words. Would they choose somebody who is articulate and not confident and out there, as opposed to somebody who's perhaps not very confident? Would that matter? Because I find that sometimes it does. You see someone who's brilliant, they've done their homework, but they're just not as articulate. Would that matter? What would matter in, you know, a case where you have two people of, you know, the opposites?
So let me not speak for every HR person, but I'm an experienced HR person. So I think it's a bit difficult to bamboozle me, you know, these days, because there are certain things that I'll be looking out for, right? And HR people and recruiters, okay, they interview both extroverts and introverts. You know what to look out for when you are interviewing an extrovert, different from when you are interviewing an introvert. Right. So an extrovert can be extremely boisterous, bringing, you know, something to the table. They are, you know, the life of the party, making you laugh, making you, but you've got to ask questions that take them into the detail. You've got to ask those behavioral interview questions that take them into specific situations, and you keep drilling until you get what you want. The introvert, who is a bit more quiet, soft-spoken, you know, a bit more detailed and all of that, draw them out as well to make sure that you see the other side. What do they do for their hobbies? How do they, you know,
them light up.
Manage what makes them light up? You know, if the introvert is giving you the data and the specifics and the details, and you should not dismiss it, you know, because they don't have humor. You should realize the kind of personality. But then again, Ronke, preparation is key. Yeah. So I know the personalities that I'm interviewing. However, how prepared are you to answer, you know, those, you know, questions, you know, as well? Which brings us to strategy number 4. Of course, at that level, you should expect behavioral interview questions. I'm not just going to ask you your name and, you know, if you've got a t-shirt, you've been there, done that. Tell me what you have done and tell me how you did it. So what I always say is be very ready to tell a compelling story. The first behavioral interview question, and I do this a lot in my executive interview prep sessions, we spend about an hour on tell me about yourself.
And people on that,
tell me about yourself.
People sometimes think that question is, you know, people don't realize how deep that question is.
Yeah. Very, very deep. That question has the power to control the narrative for the rest of the interview. Tell me about yourself, you know, and usually I put on my stopwatch on my phone and I time them. And if you're going over 3 minutes, 4 minutes, you heard me right. By the time you're getting over 3 minutes, you're rambling. Be specific. Tell a story. And the story about they want to bear in mind are 2 things: past, present, future. when it comes to tell me about yourself. Past, present, future. Yeah? And the other side, yes, thank you, Mr. Adeleye. Their personalities must also align and be adaptable to the roles and functions they need to fulfill.
True.
Right? Very, very true. Because there are certain personalities, when we were talking about the introvert, the extrovert, that is best suited for a role. And you've got to be able to pull it out. But what you asked was about articulating it, and that's actually quite important. Yes, Temi Taiwo, the tell me about yourself question, it can be very tricky. You know, so think about your past. What have you done in the past? Weave in areas of your strengths, your skills, your accomplishments. I always say, take an accomplishment that puts a smile on your face, because the guy in front of you, the lady in front of you is going to see that. You know, they're going to see how, you know, this lights you up. They're going to see your passion. You know, it's literally going to jump out, you know, at them. Then talk about what you're doing currently. Talk about what you're doing currently, how you have grown, what you have achieved. Then move it quickly to the future. And the future is really the seat that you're in, you know, right now. You know, as in, okay, so this is what I want to do in the future. This is why I'm here for this opportunity. Okay, because in the future, I want to grow in PR. You know, I want to operate at a very strategic level. And I don't have the opportunity where I'm at now because it's a larger organization. But in a place like your organization, mention the name, I have the opportunity to now operate at a strategic level and make key decisions that help breed PR, you know, processes. You've got to be able to point out past, present, future. Weave that story together. And then think about it. If Ronke is interviewing me, Ronke is thinking in her mind, what is in it for me? So you're not just telling that story for story's sake. You are saying to Ronke,
how does this?
Ronke, I am the best person for the job. The job description that you've put, you don't have to say that. I'm saying that is, it's at the back of your mind. So you are thinking about WIFM, WIIFM. The person opposite you is thinking, what is in it for me?
Why should I care?
What is in it for me? Why should I care? Tell them why they should care. Tell them how you have failed and today you are a success story. Tell them that you are the best person for the job because you've been through this kind of setback and today this is what you are doing. Tell them how you brought a team out of underperformance and they're now high-performing teams. You know, tell them how you made something out of nothing. You know, tell them how you've brought people together to make a deal click that nobody wanted to touch. Tell them what makes you light up. Tell them what you do for fun. Tell them how you've grown from being shy into being able to speak in front of them today and speak in front of others. Choose a story that is compelling whilst you have all of these strategies in mind. You're weaving them all together. Extremely important. So when you are asked those behavioral questions, those ones about specific situations, Ronke, tell me when you made an unpopular decision. Ronke, tell me when you were the only one in the room who had a particular idea in mind that nobody agreed with. How did you convince them? Ronke, tell me how you fired your last employee. Oh, yes, you get questions like that.
Wow.
So how do you structure your question? You need to, first of all, anticipate these questions. And then how do you then answer the questions? One of the methods that is most popular when it comes to answering behavioral questions is what we refer to as a STAR method. STAR, S-T-A-R. S stands for situation. You must be able to tell us what the situation is, first of all. Oh, I was in this time. You don't have to mention all the words, though. But in terms of weaving your story together, talk about the situation. Talk about the tasks that you performed to get it done. What were the actions that were taken? Yeah? And then what was the result? As much as possible, be able to quantify the results. oh, we had an improvement in our,
Oh, we can't hear. Okay. Are you there? Oh. We can't hear Coach Folake currently, or is it just me? Okay. Oh, yes. Yes, you're back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Sorry, I told you it was a long day. I have quite a few calls coming up, coming in today. So I was just saying that as much as possible, so A is for actions and R is for results. And I said as much as possible, quantify your results. Quantify your results. And this is we went from 10% and we rose to 50% after those actions that we took. The team that I led, we reduced attrition from 15% all the way to 2% within a year, and so on and so forth. But practice those STAR, methods. Practice the STAR method as much as possible. Yeah.
And of course, things have to be realized. And that's why I guess for those who are still in their job, that's why it's important to be diligent, because your current job is the story you will tell to get to your next role as well. So
correct. I know you are keeping your eyes on the time. I know we have just 8 minutes. So perhaps if there are any that have questions as well.
I have one last question, but if there's anybody in the audience have a question, I know people will have a question. I want to ask, I don't know if anybody would like to know, but especially when they ask you, do you have any questions? Sometimes a lot of people, I guess when we talk about money, is that a good time to talk about money, or what kind of questions will be appropriate at a time when they ask you, do you have any questions?
I've said it before. The aim of the questions is not just for you to sound good. Is to make you unforgettable and let them know that you are the best fit for the role. So don't ask basic questions. Ask questions that gives them something to think about. Ask questions that actually make their face lighter. Ask questions where, okay, I actually didn't see that coming. Thank you. So your questions are meant to also leave a good impression, about you. Some very easy ones, and I've always said it, where you have the time, ask questions about the role, ask questions about the team or the organization, ask questions about the industry, for example. So about you or about the role, ask what are the qualities that make you most successful? What are the qualities that will make me most successful in this role? Or, in 1 year, how will I know that I've been successful? A natural trick question all the time that you cannot go wrong. What are the 2 issues that are keeping you up at night? Especially if you are speaking to the hiring manager, or at least somebody within the team. What's your management style? Stuff like that. What do you think will be your greatest accomplishments, of course, in that company now, 3 to 5 years from now? And, watch, as you're asking as well, you don't come across as, cocky or, you know more than everybody. So be extremely conscious of your body language. Act like you're really interested. You have asked a really intelligent question, right? But ask like you're really interested in the response. And a lot of times, the questions in themselves, I beg your pardon, the responses to your questions actually give you a bit more insight on what questions to ask next.
Phenomenal. Okay, well, I'm sure you all know that time is ticking. I'd love for to ask for anybody in the audience to ask a question. This is a huge opportunity. Even though Folake has a clubhouse that she does every week. Is it every week?
It's every week, Ronke. It's called the Executive Mindset. So the name of the club on Clubhouse is the Executive Mindset.
Yes. So you can follow her on Clubhouse at Coachivate. Follow her on Instagram as well as Coachivate. Her Clubhouse sessions are usually such amazing. Also, Clubhouse is also a great place to network. The kind of people that come into her room. You would be shocked. You might not just get your next big job or next big whatever from there. So it's also a great place to network as well. So I'm sure we don't have too much time, but if you have any questions, you can ask. The reason why we're doing this is because a lot of people, more people than you realize, actually struggle, with, some of the strategies that she's talked about today. Some people don't realize that these are the key things that's, holding you back. Holding you back. Please, can this live be saved? Okay, we will save the live, but on our YouTube channel. So thank you, Coach and Ms. Renge. Thank you very much, Timmy Taiwo, for joining us. We will upload this on our YouTube channel because, Instagram has this new, plus also we can edit some of the parts where and put the, real meat of the discussion. So follow us on Instagram at NG Women in PR. You can also find us on YouTube at Nigerian Women in PR, where you'll find previous lives as well. But this one, I think, has been one of my favorite because, like I said, it's been so insightful. She has really exposed and shown us, sort of like the mafia style HR strategies that a lot of us have been struggling with. And even if you're here and you're not middle level or senior management, I think a lot of the things that she has shared today are poignant. You talk a lot about confidence, Folake, as well, and how it's important to believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, who will, right? Who will?
Who will? Who will? And if you don't even work on your self-worth, what are you presenting to others? You've got to work on your self-worth. You've got to work on, really, really showing up strong, and those are really, really important points to always take note of.
Wow, thank you so much, Folake. We hope that we can have you at one of our, sometimes we have what we call our reverse mentorship workshop coming up, where we actually have, senior level and mid-level sort of learning, even from like a reverse mentorship workshop. We have a C-suite acceleration workshop coming up this year as well. We have our experiencing period. We'd love to have you in one of our sessions because, you're truly phenomenal. We can see the passion for helping people, discover themselves and gain confidence as professionals. And we really appreciate all you do. So thank you so much for coming on our IG Live.
You are welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, Ronke, for the opportunity. Very much appreciated.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night's rest.
You too, and goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
And all the very best in your next interview.
Yes. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching our PRandMore IG Live. Don't forget to follow us at NG Women in PR. And, of course, use the link in the bio. If you want to be a member of Nigerian Women in PR as well, the benefits are amazing. You get mentorship from, networking opportunities. You also have a resource library that we also use to sort of help, women in PR, although it's just Nigerian Women in PR, but whether you live abroad or in Nigeria, this, can be relevant to you. So follow us at Nigerian Women in PR and use the link in bio to be a member as well. Thank you once again, Coach Folake. See you next time, everyone. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another important, interesting guest, so make sure to join us then. My name is Ronke Giwa Onofua. You can follow me at Ronke Giwa1, at Ronke Giwa1 on Instagram. I'm a broadcaster, and I'm also a member of Nigerian Women in PR, and I'm really glad to be here tonight. Thank you. Until next time, enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you, and God bless.
Bye.